Previously on the On College Basketball podcast.
I'll go with Ohio State over Texas. I've got Ohio State ranked 15th in the top 25 and 1. Maybe I'm too high on them or just high in general, but I like the roster that Jake Diebler put together. I was a little surprised that they didn't get more votes in the preseason AP top 25 poll. So I've got Ohio State over Texas.
You have chosen wisely.
Most obvious to me, I'm going to say UCF wins on its home floor, unranked team, and beats 13th ranked Texas A&M on Monday night. I credit Buzz Williams for being willing to schedule an opening night game on the road against a power conference opponent. I wish more coaches would do this. This is tremendous from Buzz Williams, but I will say that by the end of the night, he might have a little regret over it. So my pick is UCF over A&M and GP. I'm just going to blindly say when we talk on the Tuesday morning edition of the Eye on College Basketball podcast, I think we will be talking about two ranked teams losing on Monday night to unranked opponents.
Pay that man his money.
Look at us. Hey there. Hey there, Gary Parrish. Welcome back. CBS Sports, Eye on College Basketball podcast, where we sometimes discuss camel fighting, dodo birds, leaky black, and every once in a while make some accurate predictions. We'll get to those games eventually. Matt Norlander is here with me. If you watch it on YouTube, you know what to do to the like button. Shouts to Brandon Davies. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to the CBS Sports College Basketball YouTube channel. I sure would appreciate it if you did that while you're here. Let's get into it. The opening day of the 2024-25 college basketball season is in the books. We had exactly one top 10 showdown on the schedule. Pretty quickly turned into a beatdown. The final score, number 6 Gonzaga 101, number 8 Baylor 63. That 38-point win represents the largest margin of victory for any team in a season opener against a top 10 opponent in the history of the AP poll. It tipped as midnight Eastern was approaching. It ended around 1:30 Eastern. Norlander, did you make it to the end? And if so, why?
I was going to ask you. Good morning, GP. By the way, people are already noticing. We did not play. If you're watching, we did not plan this. We both have blue hats on and red shirts. USA Election Day. What do you want from us? There we go. He's going Taylor Swift. I'm skiing in the East here. You look wonderful. So no, I recorded the game. I made it to halftime, and then I knew I'd get up early with my kids. Election Day, schools are not open because schools are used for people to go and vote. So I knew I'd be up early. And listen, when I went to bed, Gonzaga was well in control. And so I had some curiosity. Like I didn't know when I brought it up, the result of the game. And it got 5 minutes into the second half. And I was like, I was watching on YouTube TV. I was like, okay, we're just going to scroll ahead. And sure enough, no shot. Utterly dominant. That's a wow. I mean, a big time wow. To me, way more about Gonzaga than Baylor. Shouts to Evan Miyakawa. We mentioned him on a recent preview pod. He had Gonzaga number 2 in the country, higher than any human or metric, period. And boy, did that bear out. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see we've got the that's up there. Thank you, Nada, for that. So you can get a good look there on what we saw. Yeah, there we go. Nice little early hey YouTube moment there. We are officially back. 1.44 points per possession for Gonzaga. This was a message sent. Considering like Ryan Nembhard had a good game with 11 assists. He only had 6 points. You had Caleb Battle in the first game in a Gonzaga uniform. He had 12. Nolan Hickman looked really good. He had 17. Graham Ike had 15. Dusty Schroeder in the first half announced his presence with authority there. Gonzaga looked like we were checking in at a home game against Portland on January 20th, man. They were humming, absolutely humming. First time Baylor's ever lost by more than 30 under Scott Drew. Just Gonzaga got out to a good run. Baylor took like a quick, like a 1-point lead that held for like 30 seconds, and then that was it. So my takeaways are way more about Gonzaga and what they are capable of doing, especially. I mean, they're improved on defense as well. Let's credit for them for that. But offense, man, 69% from 2-point range, 41% from 3. They made 13 trays. It was an absolute wow. I think they went 24 on a 24-4 run in the second half to start. And it was just an absolute wrap there. So give me your thoughts, GP, on what was about as shocking of a result as we could get, because even if you thought Gonzaga would win and maybe win with some ease, no one on the planet had 101-63.
It felt a little like, and like you, I watched it at 5 o'clock this morning. I woke up, got a cup of coffee, and turned it on. And not only did I not make it to the end, I didn't even make it to tip off.
Well, you got the game. You got the game in, but my gosh, buddy, that's a tough scene there.
Now, hey, yeah, it was my silent protest against the sport.
Okay. Well, now it's no longer silent, but yes.
Yeah. Now it's a public protest of the sport. But last night it was silent in the sense that I didn't mention it to anybody, not even my wife or kids.
GP, continue your thoughts. They started the game on ESPNU because they wanted post-game coverage on the Deuce for Monday Night Football. It was outrageous.
Yeah, I didn't know that, but it's insulting. It's ridiculous. It's a stupid way to start the season.
Yes.
I mean, what other sport starts the season at nearly midnight Eastern with your biggest game? Your biggest game to start the season. Like, imagine if the Chiefs win another Super Bowl and then they open the season next season against the Bills at midnight.
I know.
It's just stupid. So I silently protested. Now I'm publicly protesting. It felt a little like I'm about to choke. Kentucky from a few years ago in the Champions Classic. You remember that?
That's a great call. That's a great call. Yes.
It was like, what in the world just happened? Like, I want you to understand my experience. I woke up at 4:30 this morning, grabbed my phone, and looked at it and went, what in the world?
Oh, so you turned it on anyway, even though you knew the score.
Well, I as I'm prepping for, I've got multiple shows today. As I'm prepping, I just put it on like in my office right above me, and I'm listening to it and watching it and reliving it. But I mentioned earlier, it got out of hand very quickly. It didn't actually. It was probably 10, 11, 12 minutes in before it really started to separate. But then it never stopped. Like you said, 51% from the field, 41.9% from three, 13 to 31 from beyond the arc. Is that normal? Are they going to take 31 threes a game?
Why the hell won't they? I mean, I don't know if they'll average 31 by season's end, but after the way they looked, how just well-oiled, GP. Gonzaga still, the window is not closed. That was,
oh yeah.
I mean, the window is not closed.
I meant to ask you about your Gonzaga's title window has closed under Mark Few, buddy. That was a rough one for you last night.
It's a whole remodeling situation. They blew out the sidewall and it's floor to ceiling bay window situation there. That is it's damn good. Yeah.
All right. So, obviously, overwhelming victory for the Zags. I don't know if you saw, because I went and looked at the post-game press conferences as well. Scott Drew was kind of funny. He was like, well, they look like a team that brought back 8 or 9 starters, and we look like a team that brought back 1. Obviously, you can't bring back 8 or 9 starters. 5's the limit. But they did bring back.
Scott might have been a little out of sorts after his team's getting their absolute.
I don't mind. I know it must have felt like they brought back 8 or 9 starters when you're down 38. They did bring back literally everybody except Anton Watson from a team that once again went to another Sweet 16, like the millionth in a row. So they're obviously good and they look the part, but let's not bury the lead. There was a viral moment in garbage time of this game that happened to involve 5-star freshman VJ Edgecombe and not quite 5-star anything. Joe, I shouldn't even say that. It's Mark Few's son, Joe Few. He's a young man I first met many, many years ago when I went to Spokane for I believe it was Illinois Gonzaga game on a Saturday night in prime time. I fly into Spokane. I go over to Mark's house, actually. He invited me over for Friday. I thought we were going to be watching film, like getting ready for a game, because I've spent nights before games. I promise there's a point to this story. I've spent nights before games with lots of coaches over the years, and it's always, or at least usually, they're in it. I mean, they're watching film and watching more stuff than they probably need to. And that's what I thought we were going to be doing. Instead, as I walked in, Mark was literally sitting at the kitchen table playing Go Fish with little Joe Few. That was the scene. And that's when I knew Mark Few is a better man than me and most, because he is capable of putting work aside and really spending real time with his family and kids the night before a massive game. So that's when I first met Joe Few. Never even occurred to me that I'd one day see him get humiliated on national television, but it happened last night. Woo! Nada. Let's look at it.
Might blow the roof off this place if Joe Few scores. And a steal for Josh Ojonwuna. Wow! VJ Edgecombe, my goodness. That staggered Joe Few.
Poor guy gets in the game. Welcome to the game, Joe. Welcome to the game. Oh, that's tough. You know what, though? Joe tried.
He did.
He tried. He jumped.
He did his best. He did all he could do.
What the hell is...
That's all you can do.
There's a minute 40 to go in a 40-point game. What the hell is VJ Edgecombe doing in the game?
Dunking on Joe Few
on the floor.
So he can embarrass Joe
top
Few.
5 pick. You got Joe Few getting mop-up minutes. Just happy to be on the floor. Mark's like, yeah, get in there, kiddos. Let's see what you got. He gets nutted, man. Are you kidding me? That was Danny Green-esque. That's only, by the way, VJ Edgecombe finished with 4 points, and those were 2 of them.
Yeah, it wasn't the best debut that any freshman had last night. That probably belongs to Trey Johnson at Texas. We'll get to that eventually.
But maybe well, I got a few. There's another one that had a hell of a night, but keep going.
Yeah, you called your shot on UCF over Texas A&M. You also kind of called a shot on Concanapa. We'll get to that. But Edgecombe, buddy, he got the highlight. He had the highlight of the day, and that was over Joe Few. How loud do you think they were laughing in the locker room after the game? I mean, Gonzaga's locker room.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the whole point, is that they win easily, and then you have something like that. I mean, if that happens and you're down 28, then really what the hell is VJ Edgecombe doing in the game? But no, I'm sure that was quite the entertaining scene there. Hey, listen, when nepotism goes wrong, okay? Get him on the floor. Joe Few, at least he gets to say he tried to D up on what is inevitably going to be a future NBA starter there. But yeah, Edgecombe, 4 points, 7 boards, 3 turnovers, 2 blocks, a steal. You know, just okay. I thought the best player was probably Robert Wright. I mean, Norchad Omier had 15 points, 9 boards. He was probably the most productive, but Robert Wright had a couple of really good moments there. But overall, like from Baylor, come on. They have, I think a lot of this was Gonzaga personally, but it was evident that they've got some interior defensive stiffening to do. And I think overall what they are on defense needs a few tweaks, to say the least. But again, won't overreact too much as you might want us to, because we're eager to get going here on this Tuesday and recap Monday's stuff. To me, this was 85% what Gonzaga was able to do and 15% what Baylor was not.
I obviously dropped Baylor in the top 25 and 1, but not completely out. Like, I don't want to harshly punish somebody for, having the whatever it takes to go play a game like this on the opening night of the season. Most coaches are hesitant to do something like this. Scott took his team to downtown Spokane, and they were on the wrong end of it, undeniably. But I like the idea that he did it. I think I moved Baylor down to 17 in the top 25 and 1. Gonzaga up to number 7. Let's move on. I asked Norlander yesterday, you saw it in the opening, if he thought a ranked team would lose to an unranked team on the opening day of the season. He said yes, and then he told us to keep an eye on, among other games, number 13 Texas A&M at UCF, and then the Aggies lost as 5.5-point favorites on the road. We're going to spend a few minutes on that next, but first, let's get a word from our partners.
CBS Sports HQ, giving you college football coverage unlike anyone else.
We're talking Big Ten.
Pre- and post-game coverage.
Are you encouraged with the way that this team responded?
Along with breaking news.
A lot of movement in the rankings this week.
Highlights and expert analysis.
That streak could be in jeopardy here.
Sure. What was your main takeaway from this game? How impressive was his domination?
That really changed the football game.
Let's go ahead and have some more fun.
Another wild ending. The chaos continues.
Turn to CBS Sports HQ.
Final score, UCF 64, number 13 Texas A&M 61. Norlander, you called it. Does that result tell you more about UCF or Buzz Williams Aggies?
I think UCF. You also called one too, GP. We can take this block and get to Ohio State, Texas as well. Not a good night for Texas teams, by the way. Baylor, A&M, and Texas all lose. Also not great for the SEC. You had a number of SEC teams go down. Some more problematic than others. But yeah, I had the UCF A&M game on second screen. Volume down most of it, but then final 2 or 3 minutes kind of dialed in there because A&M, I thought they were going to be able to get out of there comfortably on the road and pick up what could well qualify as a quad one, or would have qualified as a quad one road win to kick off the season. That would have been a great resume booster right away, but they let an 11-point lead with about 6 and change to go, let it dissolve. UCF just chipped away. And then A&M had 3. I actually thought UCF was going to foul, and then it got into this thing where I felt like the UCF players were nervous about fouling on a 3-point attempt, so then they didn't. So A&M got 3 clean open looks from deep on their final possession. None of them fell, 64-61. UCF gets the win. A&M is the highest-ranked team to lose to an unranked opponent on the opening night of the season. Wade Taylor, the fourth, didn't have that great of a game, GP. 13 points, was 4 of 15 from the field. Did not hit a shot inside the 3-point arc. He had 7 assists, along with 2 turnovers and 3 fouls. Just not what they needed him to be. But I do credit Johnny Dawkins. It's to get that kind of scene on the first night. UCF, they storm the floor. It's UCF, man. Like, what do you want from me? You get a great game from Darius Johnson, who had 24. And it was only the 11th time in school history they had won a game over a ranked team. So, yeah, now in the Big 12, but obviously wasn't a power conference program for 98% of its existence. Now it is, and it gets a good win. That's a nice one. And if you listen to our Monday show, I reiterated my belief that I think UCF will be the surprise team to come up and make the tournament and finish in the top 8 or top 9 of the Big 12. So that's a good win for Johnny Dawkins' crew. And they almost certainly, well, if it's not quad 1, it'll be a quad 2 at worst. So that's a nice early resume boost for them.
A great win. Again, I don't want to punish A&M too much for being brave enough to go on the road in a season opener and play a Big 12 team. We talked about it on Monday's podcast that we did on CBS Sports Network. I was at Big 12 Media Day, and I talked to Bill Self and Kelvin Sampson, Scott Drew, most of those guys about that league that is consistently for more than a decade rated as the best conference in college basketball. And to a man, they told me the thing that makes it so difficult and just exhausting isn't that you've got to play Kansas or Houston or Baylor. I mean, obviously that's tough, but every league has a Kansas or a Houston or a Baylor. In the SEC, somebody's going to be great. In the Big Ten, somebody's going to be great. In the ACC, somebody's going to be great. But in the ACC, some people are also going to be really bad. In the SEC, somebody's going to be bad. In the Big 12, not really. Everybody's in the top 90 at KenPom to start the season. So you can't, even if you're the best team in the country, reasonably assume you can go play poorly at a place like UCF and still win. You'll got there. Top 10 Big 12 teams will lose at UCF this season. So I'm not too concerned about A&M. It wasn't a great performance, but remember last year they started 9-6. They lost 4 non-league games last season. That's a high number for a good power conference school. But they were able to recover, won 21 games, made the tournament, got a 9 seed, advanced to the second round. So I think they'll be fine. And I'm with you. I think this might say more about UCF. Keep in mind, they were shorthanded too. Mikey Williams, the celebrated troubled prospect, but also celebrated in different circles. He didn't play. He had a boot on his left leg. Johnny, after the game, said he didn't think it was too serious. But, UCF was missing its highest profile prospect last night and still was able to get a victory over a top 15 team. That's good stuff.
That's big stuff. Let's get to your pick that you called. And yes, we did wind up having 2 ranked teams lose to unranked opponents, as said on the show on Monday, all from Texas though. 8th ranked Baylor, 13th ranked Texas A&M, and then 19th ranked Texas all go down. Lone Star State's really, really good. Houston didn't have any issues whatsoever on Monday night, but Ohio State won. Game was on TNT. Spiro Ditas on the call, along with Candace Parker and Grant Hill, 80-72. Texas was 2 steps behind from start to finish. They didn't have Tremont Mark, which I think is key. And now, had he played, he's actually a good enough player. Maybe it's a different outcome, but credit to Ohio State. They got out early, and then Texas was just kind of chasing the car the whole night. Bruce Thornton had 20. Micah Parrish, your cousin, had 17. Devin Royal had 16 off the bench. You know, the 2 notable blue blood transfers weren't even big factors for Ohio State in this game. Aaron Bradshaw, I'm bringing up here, I think he had just 2 points overall. If you got it on the screen, you can see there. Bradshaw had 2 points, and then Sean Stewart from Duke, he had 2 points. So they weren't even huge impact players there, but a very good win for Jake Diebler in his first game in an official capacity as the head coach. Obviously, we know what he did to earn that job after Chris Holtmann was fired last February. Ohio State won because it was willing and open a lot from 3-point range, went 14 of 28 from beyond the arc. That's outrageous. We talked about how good Gonzaga was from beyond the line there. Ohio State's rate was even better, and they shot almost as many 3-pointers, GP. So good on OSU. That's a really nice start to the season. I was going in a little bit, just wait and see on the Buckeyes. Obviously, that's a convincing initial performance there. And then the only other thing I'll add here is that Trey Johnson was very good in his first game for Texas. He's another player who we've mentioned who could threaten to be the highest scoring freshman in the country. Well, he set the freshman debut in Texas history. He had 29 in this game. Now, because of the way Texas lost, like if you watched it, like it was certainly impressive there. But the previous record was KD. He had 20 in his first game against Alcorn State. A little bit of a more difficult opponent here for Trey Johnson, so he looked good overall. So one thing I'd hope this doesn't lead to, talk about Baylor getting run, A&M going on the road losing, and then Ohio State, Texas, they play on a neutral. You understand why coaches see these kind of opening night results and be like, and that's why we're playing by game opponent 1 from the Southland or whatever. I hope this doesn't induce any more of that, frankly, but it was a good win for Ohio State.
Yeah, when you set a scoring record for a freshman at Texas, you've done something, because one of the best freshmen of all time happened to play there. As you mentioned, Kevin Durant. Trey Johnson is like, he's the type of guy, if you don't really care about college basketball, but you are interested in the NBA draft, maybe you pay attention to him. He is going to show up in mock drafts, and he looked the part in that season opening loss. Like I said yesterday on the show, I'm a believer in Ohio State. Like, I'm a believer in what Jake Diebler was able to do last season after taking over for Chris Holtmann. I'm a believer in the roster that he put together. The only thing that stood out there sort of negatively for me is Aaron Bradshaw, because one of the things one of my beliefs as it pertains to the sport is that, 5-star freshmen, some of them, they're Brandon Miller, they're Kevin Durant, they're Zion, they're just awesome from the jump. Others are less impactful, but if they are smart enough to not just push it straight to the NBA draft after 1 year, because that's what they decided they were going to do 3 years ago when they were a top 5 recruit, if they come back, then that breakthrough can come in a sophomore season. It's like Blake Griffin was awesome as a freshman, but that sophomore year, buddy, he took off.
Yeah.
I wasn't predicting that for Aaron Bradshaw, but last night was not an encouraging first look at him in an Ohio State uniform in the regular season. And more broadly speaking, I've shared this opinion with other people that who are closer to Aaron Bradshaw than I am. Like, I should be clear, I don't know Aaron Bradshaw, right? I look at him from a distance. But this is sort of concerning to me. Every time I bring him up to somebody who knows him better than me, they never co-sign what I'm saying about him. They never say, oh yeah, he's going to be. I've never said, man, I think he could really be great. If that breakthrough season comes, nobody ever says, yeah, me too. And that's concerning. And then last night happened.
Yeah, give it time. We'll see if they can gel more as a team. But that's obviously a good win. And it's not even like Ohio State played its A game. It was outrageous from 3-point range, and that was the biggest reason why I was able to win. Also, a stark difference. The games had some overlap between the environment in Vegas between those two teams. And then you go to, obviously, it's Gonzaga's backyard, and it wasn't even at the Kennel, but you see what the arena in Spokane was like, and that was just a tremendous environment there overall. We got a few more results to kind of peel through and kind of whip around fashion. And as always, and as promised, the season predictions portion is coming. Even though the season has started, I think I might have to take issue with one prediction that we have to make here because I don't want to have last night's results influence what we're going to say. We'll get to that after we do a bunch of whip around stuff. Nada, can we get a second word from our partners?
A new crown awaits.
Brilliantly taken.
The journey to become European football royalty has begun.
A stunning goal.
The UEFA Europa League on CBS Sports Network and stream every match live on Paramount Plus.
I think the best place to continue the conversation is with what most people believe is the biggest brand in the sport. That's the Duke Blue Devils. They won 96-62 season opening victory over Maine. Cooper Flagg, 5-star phenom. He had 18.7 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals in 30 minutes. He was 6 of 15 from the field, 0 of 4 from 3. So he just makes 1 3, and we're talking about 21, 7, 5, and 3. He was, he filled the box score like we suspected he would. Concanupple was the leading scorer, 22 points on 8 of 14 shooting, 3 of 8 from 3. You were at Duke in the preseason, mentioned yesterday that there is a lot of buzz around that program connected to Concanupple. He looked the part last night.
He did. That was the 43rd straight home opening win for Duke. Hasn't lost a home opener since 1981. I believe that was Krzyzewski's second season. Listen, I did an HQ hit on Duke within minutes of the game going final because there's going to be a lot of interest in this, and Cooper Flagg carries casual fan familiarity already, even though he had just played his first game in college last night. Cooper Flagg was a good player last night, and he really rounded out his stat line in the second half. But Concanupple was the best player on the floor for Duke. And actually, real quick, okay, so on the Monday show, have you? It's only one game, so I'm not asking you or expecting you to, but I am curious because I assume you checked in on some of this stuff. Although maybe you're about to tell me that you were in bed before Duke tipped off.
No, I was awake for Duke. I had the whole
on the Monday show. I said that it was very possible that Concanupple would lead Duke in scoring, and there would be a number of games this season when Cooper Flagg wasn't the best player or the second best player and wouldn't lead the team in scoring. And to paraphrase you, you basically said, I think Cooper Flagg's going to be everything we're hyping him up to be, and he might be the best player. You have him as the National Player of the Year. Any backing off of that a little bit after seeing what Conipple is capable of and how he looked in his first game?
No, 18.7 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals for Cooper Flagg. I don't equate leading scorer with best player. Okay. Obviously, lots of times that's true. Like in basketball, most teams' best player is its leading scorer, but it's not always true.
Yeah.
And so, no, I don't need Cooper Flagg to be the leading scorer every night to prove he's the best player at Duke. I
agree.
I don't even know that he'll need to be the leading scorer throughout the entire season to still be considered the best player at Duke.
Anthony Davis wasn't, and he was Kentucky's best player. So that's certainly...
There you go. That's a great example. So, 18 points, they're still really good. And again, if he, hits a 3 or 2, then he's, 21, 24. But the 7 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals, no blocks. He
blocks, which is surprising.
Right.
That was surprising.
That stuff's going to always be there. 7 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals. I know blocks weren't there last night. They'll be there eventually. He's just going to impact. This is the way every time somebody asks me about it, this is what I say. He's going to impact winning on both ends of the court better than anybody else in the country. That's what I believe.
For sure. In this game, Conipple was the best player. And particularly what he was able to do in the first half there. I mean, he finished with 22. If they asked him to go get 30, he could have gotten it last night. I think early, this is kind of just me watching and kind of reading into body language. They play in Maine. Flagg grew up 25 minutes from the campus, and it was a big time game for him because he grew up probably believing he would, until he was, 15 years old, probably believed he was going to play at Maine.
Probably always thought he was going, always dreamed of being a black bear.
Exactly. And why wouldn't you? So his brother was there. His brother's obviously committed to Maine now. So maybe just a little bit of nerves there initially. He missed a couple of bunnies, didn't hit one. I don't think Flagg hit one shot outside of like 15 feet last night. So he had a good game, not a great game, but it was a nice debut. overall, you saw a little bit of everything from Duke, and they pull away. Maine actually kept it somewhat competitive in the first half there, but it was a nice opening season opening win, 96-62 over Maine. SEC GP.
Mm-hmm.
We mentioned Texas loses, and yes, gonna have to get used to Texas in the SEC. We mentioned A&M, but also North Florida beat South Carolina 74-71. North Florida lost its best player, Chaz Lanier, to Tennessee, who they still go in and they beat South Carolina. So that's a surprising one. And then Memphis won at home. Hell of a day for Memphis. Tyreek Smith is officially off the team. He's going in the portal. Didn't matter. Memphis wins 83-75. Missouri still has not won a game in the year 2024. So 4 losses for the SEC on opening night of varying quality, but this is a league that we believe might have a chance to be the deepest in the country. Those results did not bear out in the first 12 to 24 hours of the season.
The Tyreek Smith situation is hilarious. I mean, there's one report that he walked into Penny's office and was like, I want money.
Basically walked in and said, I want my money. And then I'm surmising this, if that actually happened. And then Penny was like, okay, we're done here.
I mean, you have to.
The portal's right there.
Yeah. But listen, I was told by somebody, let's just say connected to the Memphis collective, that Tyreek Smith had already cashed checks in excess of $100,000. Had already cashed them, like deposited them. And he never appeared in a game.
Wow.
Hey, trivia time.
Sure. What the hell you got for me?
Who is leading all power conferences in scoring right now?
Like what team?
No. What player? Who's the leading scorer among power conference players in America right now on election day 2024?
Who had the most last night? I'm trying to think who scored more last night than anyone in the power conferences. Who outdid
That's exactly what you need to be thinking about.
Who outdid Trey Johnson's 29? Tell me.
Cam Jones, my little homie from Memphis.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He went off.
32 and a 102-62 win over Stony Brook. How about this? 14 of 16 from the field. He was 10 of 10 from 2, 4 of 6 from 3 for 32 points. The person I predicted to be your 2025 Big East Player of the Year.
I got a Cam Jones thing coming later in the show, so you hopped ahead of me here. Let's do whip around. I'll give a couple notable results here, and then take it where you please before we get into the predictions. Purdue beat Corpus Christi. It was a little tight. I bring it up for this. Braden Smith had 15 assists. 15 assists in game 1. You and I both talked to Matt Painter, I think jointly over the summer in person, and then again at Big Ten Media Day. He is ultra confident that Braden Smith can be the best point guard in America. 15 points, 12 points, 8 boards, 6 turnovers though, but a nice debut for Braden Smith there. It's just one game and it is against Corpus Christi, but damn, maybe this dude will threaten to average double-digit assists. St. Louis lost to Santa Clara. More importantly, this is a downer. If you didn't catch it, Robbie Avila sprained his ankle late in the second half of that game. He told reporters the expectation is probably going to be out at least a month, at least. So we're talking about one of the, cult figures in the sport. Goes to St. Louis. SLU's got some buzz. Could it be a top 4 team in the A10? Open their season with a loss. Avila's done. I'll stop right here before we get to some more of the whip around. Just a quick reaction off that, GP, because that was to me the worst piece of news connected to Monday there, because you're talking about a guy who's super recognizable and someone who we thought could be or would be one of the 30 best players in the sport.
It's a hell of a blow for the A10 tip-off show.
Okay.
We lost to Ron Holmes.
I know.
That's a big deal for the A10 tip-off show on CBS Sports Network that we do throughout the season. We lost to Ron Holmes. Now we've lost Robbie as well. It stinks. You don't get this back. That's the thing. Like the college basketball season is short, and your career is brief, and you don't get this back. Like if an NBA player, is going to miss a month, that stinks too. But you can play 20 years in the NBA if you're LeBron or somebody like LeBron. You don't get that much time in college basketball unless you're Hunter Dickinson. So it stinks. It stinks. It's not fun to watch.
Yeah, that's a major bummer. By the way, super appreciate the chat. It's humming. Games are back. People are excited. Appreciate you all. Predictions coming here in just a minute. Let's do a little more whip around. Kentucky beat Wright State. Louisville beat Morehead State. BYU averaged 89 a game last season under Mark Pope. That was second in D1. Kentucky may well do that this season. They cruised. They look good. I had that on the quad box, and I know it's just Wright State. They've got a coaching change as well, but that was a 103-62. It was a Gonzaga Baylor-esque score, almost exactly to the T there. And then Louisville, if you're Louisville, you get a no doubt about it win, nice and close. Not super well attended. I did see that, and I saw Pat Kelsey afterward, kind of trying to rally the fan base to make sure that they came out this weekend and showed up big for the Tennessee game. So that was a little surprising to me, but it does speak to how down bad the fan base got. But yeah, next game is at home against Tennessee on Saturday. That's a big one there. So keep that in mind. Jared Burson special, by the way, he tweeted this out. Kentucky and Louisville each won by 40+ points on the same day for the second time in the past 50 years and for the first time since December 23rd, 1996. Florida got a game from USF. They pulled away late, but a good win for the Gators there. Obviously, South Florida playing under very difficult circumstances. I actually thought they comported themselves incredibly well considering everything that led up to that game. Greg Kampe, congratulations. Win number 700 of your career. And great guy. We know Greg Kampe well, and he certainly deserves it. He gets a season opening win, gets to 700. So, win 699 and 700, quite memorable. 699, obviously, ending John Calipari's Kentucky career. You mentioned big-time freshman. How about Derek Queen? Maybe the best of anyone on opening night. 22 points, 20 boards against Manhattan. This is from Maryland. The last college freshman to go 20-20, his first game was Michael Beasley at Kansas State. And the last time a Terp, period, went for 20-20 in a game was Joe Smith in the tournament in 95. So Derek Queen, a local kid, was a big-time get for Kevin Willard. Just a very, very encouraging development for Maryland, a team I had in my preseason top 40. Queen's the first, a couple more from Maryland here. He's the first Big Ten freshman with the 20-20 in any game since at least 08-09. And his 22 points are the most by a Maryland freshman in his debut game since Joe Smith, who had 26 against Georgetown in 1993. Maryland and Georgetown opened the season by playing each other. We once were a proper country. Good God. Instead, we got Maryland playing Manhattan. Nothing against Manhattan, but Maryland, Georgetown, that's how you tip off a season. A couple more upsets, then we can get to the predictions. South Dakota State, albeit in their home state, they did beat McNeese, GP. McNeese was receiving votes in the preseason AP poll. That's a very good win for Eric Henderson, who I identified in my preseason best of the rest preview at CBSSports.com, one of the better unheralded mid-major coaches. So good win for your Jackrabbits. I mentioned South Carolina on the wrong end of a loss to North Florida. And then really under the radar, but really good, Vermont. John Becker, one of the best mid-major coaches, clearly statistically the best in the country over the past 10 years. They went down to UAB and won 67-62. UAB is the preseason pick to win the American. UAB did not hit a three-pointer in this game. Good win by UVM. Shouts to Church Street. Shouts to Fish. And, that's a good win for the Catamounts there. So that's kind of a quick tour around some of the more notable results from opening night.
All right, Norlander, you've got a prediction segment planned. You asked me, you gave me a homework assignment.
I didn't do that to you this year, by the way. I hope you appreciated that. Do you remember what happened last year when we did this?
Nope.
First of all, I went back and listened to the episode to make sure I got everything correct. You were at dinner with your family, and I was asking all these questions. Do you remember it now?
Nope.
You don't?
I genuinely have no recollection of what you're talking about.
Okay, we do a prediction segment every.
Do you remember what I ordered? Do you remember what I ordered?
I wasn't with you there, but I basically was asking you a bunch of questions, and you were researching the stuff on your phone when you were trying to eat with your family. I didn't do it with you this year. Okay,
that hammers home the point I made earlier about how I'm not Mark Few.
That's right. We normally do the Final Four predictions in this, but we did it on Monday's show. A reminder that last year, all of us, how about this? Oh, not just you and me, everyone at CBSSports.com a year ago, we all had Purdue in the national title game. That wound up coming true. How about that?
I think that's a combination of We believed they would be great again, and we just wanted it. Didn't we just want it?
I think we were wish casting it. Yeah, to a certain extent.
I was 60% Boilermaker for much of the past year.
The closest we have to that this season is we had 7 writers offer Final Four predictions. 6 of the 7 have Alabama in the Final Four. Kyle Boone, Nate Oates' hater, Cameron Salerno is the only one that has Alabama to win it all. But Alabama is the most commonly picked Final Four team at CBSSports.com. Okay, let's get to predictions. Last year, we looked at the new coaches and new spots at high majors. And I said 1.5 coaches from the Big Six, then Big Six conferences to make the NCAA tournament. Rodney Terry did not apply. You had 3: Rick Pitino, Kim English, Grant McCaslin. You went 1 for 3. McCaslin.
No.
I went 0 for 1. I only said Pitino. He didn't make it. You were technically closer. Let's do it this year. How many new coaches and new spots at high majors make the NCAAs in year 1? Do you want me to give you all the coaches right now?
Well, let me just run through a few obvious ones that we'll both say. I'll go John Calipari at Arkansas.
I agree.
Jake Diebler at Ohio State.
Okay, so here's where it gets tricky for me.
What?
No. Here's the thing. I'm going to be true to what I would have said if we did this before a single game was played, and I would have had Diebler barely in.
How many people have to be Dieblered right in front of your own
eyes? I know. It's easier for me to say it now, but if we had done this 24 hours ago, I would have been right on the fence, and I would have said Ohio State's in, but it would have been close.
Matt Painter has been Dieblered.
I know.
Tom Izzo has been Dieblered. And now Rodney Terry has also been Dieblered. Long list. It's a growing list of men who have been Dieblered.
Cal and Diebler we agree on.
Okay.
I can give you every high major hire right now if you want to get through this faster.
Nope. I want to go slow.
That's fine. I got time.
Actually, I don't have time. Give me some.
Okay, here they are in order.
All right. I'll just say yes or no.
Yeah, you'll say yes or no. Kevin Young at BYU.
No.
I'm also a no. Chris Holtman at DePaul.
No.
Are you sure? I'm also a no. Mark Pope at Kentucky.
Yes.
I'm a yes. Pat Kelsey at Louisville.
Like right on the fence. What do you think?
No, you got yes or no?
I'm going to say yes. I wouldn't believe in Louisville basketball. I was raised on the Metro Conference.
I'm a no. Dusty May at Michigan.
Yes.
Yes. For sure. Michigan looked damn good. Again, opening that mid-major opponent, but Michigan looks loaded. We both got Diebler. Steve Lutz at Oklahoma State.
No.
Andy Enfield, SMU.
No.
Kyle Smith, Stanford.
No.
Eric Musselman, USC.
No.
Agreed. Mark Byington, Vanderbilt.
No,
but I think they scored 100+ points and had 1 turnover last night. That's insane. Danny Sprinkle, Washington.
No.
And then West Virginia, Darren DeVries.
No.
So I think we agree. We have the same exact 4. Calipari, Pope, Dusty May, Jake Diebler. There we go. Single-digit seeds not to dance this season. Last year, you only picked 2 of them. West Virginia, which you were correct. Northwestern, which you were wrong about. I was right about 4 of them. 5 of them, and you mocked me. I was wrong about 2. The 2 I was wrong about, just like you, I had Northwestern. I also had Auburn out of the field. It made the field, but it was gone quickly. It lost to Yale. I was right about West Virginia, Iowa, Xavier, Indiana, and Arkansas. Love for your boy. Those were bold. Those were zesty. Those were spicy. A year ago, it came true. Now we pick. I'll give you mine first. Single-digit seeds from last season's NCAA tournament that I do not believe will dance in 2025. It is a long list.
Like when you said I only picked 2 last year, I looked at the list right in front of me. It is much longer than 2.
Yeah, I'm wondering what I have that you don't, and if there's any you have that I don't, because I think we're going to be very close on a lot of these. I have, and to be clear here, I would have been, even if I decided this morning, I did this 3 days ago. I have Wisconsin missing the tournament. These were all single-digit seeds. I have Wisconsin not making it. I have BYU not making it. I have Nebraska not making it. This is GP will disagree on this one. I have Mississippi State not making it. I have Northwestern not making it. I have Washington State not making it. I have TCU not making it. I have Florida Atlantic not making it. I have Utah State not making it. And I have South Carolina not making the tournament. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 single-digit seeds not getting back this season. Who do you have that I don't?
Okay. I didn't just look at high majors. Are you only looking at high majors or just?
I looked at every single digit.
Okay. I'm not sure about St. Mary's. Is St. Mary's going to get there?
I have St. Mary's getting there.
Okay, they might, but I'd put a question mark there. FAU, you said them.
I have FAU out. Yes.
Yeah.
They gotta be out. I mean, they could get there, but I'm keeping them out.
Are you confident in San Diego State?
I am. I will not super confident, but I thought about it. But I got them getting back.
I'm going to have them in. I'll trust Brian Dutcher in that build. I think I've expressed my trust for that building before.
Okay.
Illinois, what do you think?
Yes, I got them in with ease.
I'm going to have them in, but I put a question mark beside it. I think our lists are pretty similar. Those are just some other ones that I would put question marks next to. But I think other than that, outside of Mississippi State, everybody you named is somebody I typed their names into this document as well.
Okay. There are always multiple teams that don't make the NCAA tournament despite being ranked in the preseason. So bring up your AP top 25 if you can, GP. And I'm going to tell you who I have. A year ago, you said Alabama and Villanova would be the two teams. You went 1-1. Bama made the Final Four. To be fair, I also had Alabama not making the tournament a year ago. So we both had Bama not making it. Then they made the Final Four. You had Villanova not making it. You were correct. So you went 1-1. I went 1-2. I had Alabama. The premise of this is even if you don't like the picks, go with what the math says and pick your most likely candidates. So I went with Arkansas, correct. Bama, wrong. North Carolina, wrong. This year, and every year this happens, by the way, there's at least one team in the top 15 in the preseason that doesn't make it. Again, I picked this. I actually wrote this in our 68 Things to Know, which published before the games even went up yesterday. So my team inside the top 15 that I would say is the most likely candidate is Texas A&M. And then the two others, this is actually kind of GP-esque, but it wouldn't matter if it was 24 and 25, and if they were 18 and 21, I would still pick them. I would say Ole Miss at 24 and Rutgers at 25 are the two others. So those are my three preseason ranked teams I think are most likely to not be in the NCAA tournament. Again, history shows year after year after year after year, there are at least three, and sometimes there are as many as 6 or 7 that don't get in.
Every team in the top 25 of the AP poll is in my top 25 and 1 other than Kentucky. So logically, I can't sit here and say I don't think that I think one of these teams is going to miss the NCAA tournament because I've got them all in the top 25 and 1 except Kentucky, and I've already told you I think Kentucky's going to the NCAA tournament.
But someone's going to miss it. Who is it?
Right. So I'm not predicting these schools will miss the tournament. I'm just saying if I've got to pick some that are more likely than others, I'd start the list with Kentucky, I guess. They brought in 7+ transfers. What we learned last year is that if you bring in that many Division I transfers, you're not good. NC State got hot and went to the Final Four, but they weren't good the entire season, and nobody else that took in that many Division I transfers made the NCAA tournament. They're the only one. So Kentucky's just a logical place to look because their recipe to build a team is not something that has been effective. Yep. But let me be clear, I think they'll get there. Rutgers is somebody I would look at. I have Rutgers higher than the AP poll has Rutgers, but obviously in this era when you're relying on freshmen, great as those two are, it can get complicated. So that's one. And then I would just look at a Big 12 team that is like in the 20s. Because you could just get eat up in that league and you look up and you're 14th and you don't even know what happened.
Yep.
And so like maybe a Cincinnati you could look at. Like, and I guess Cincinnati 24th in the top 25 and 1. I think they're going to be good, but you know, somebody's got to finish not great in that league and almost anybody's susceptible to it.
I like all of those picks from you. Well done. This next one we did on a recent show, but we'll quickly reset it. Last year I said over under 4.5 then Big Six bids to get at larges. You took 3 in total. There were 8. You said 1 from the WCC, 1 from the American, 1 from the Mountain West. I said over. I had said 6. That was still too low because there were 8 bids. We talked about this on a recent show, so no need to talk through it again. I set the over under at 6.5 at large bids for schools outside the 5 high major conferences. GP took 4. and I am taking 8 again. I will say 8 again, in particular because of the new selection criteria. How about this one? Last unbeaten in college basketball. Great one.
Oh,
GP, you nailed it. You nailed it. I think you've done it 2 years in a row now. You picked Houston. You were correct. You said they would be the last unbeaten team after January 1. You were also correct. They got to 14-0, lost to Iowa State on January 9. Well done. I picked Virginia. I am trash. So who is it going to be this season? I went through and I looked at the schedules of every team in GP's, either GP's top 25 or my top 25. Damn, it's hard. This one is hard. I landed on Arizona because you got to pick a good team that has a schedule that could be manageable enough to pull it off. Arizona opened Monday night with a 93-64 win over Canisius. They've got Old Dominion. They play at Wisconsin next Friday. Wisconsin, for a minute there, was down like 14 points to Holy Cross, but it wound up recovering. Arizona does host Duke. I'll be at that game in a little more than 2 weeks. And then they're in the battle for Atlantis. So they have opportunities to lose. Don't get me wrong. But their road game is manageable. At Wisconsin, we don't think that's a tournament team. They get Duke on the home floor, and then I think they're going to prove to be the best team in the battle for Atlantis and win that. And then other than that, they got to get through UCLA in Phoenix in the middle of December. Other than that, they're my pick. I'll say Arizona's first loss will come on January 4th at Cincinnati, and in doing so, Arizona will be the last undefeated team to take an L. What about you?
Well, since I've spent the entire offseason telling you I don't expect UConn to lose the game ever again, I'm going with Dan Hurley's Huskies.
A reminder, UConn has to play Gonzaga. You want to stick with this?
I don't think UConn's ever losing another basketball game. I'm sorry. There's nothing I've seen recently.
What happens when it does happen?
When UConn loses a game?
And how do you square this with the fact that you don't have UConn winning the national title or even making the Final Four?
We don't have time to explain that. All right. But just trust me when I tell you, I don't think they're losing a game ever again.
All right. For posterity, I'm going to say you're saying UConn undefeated in the regular season. Okay. That's your official prediction.
My official pick is that UConn will never lose again.
Last year we did points and rebounds.
But do you know what I'm rooting for?
What?
I'm rooting for Iowa State. I want it to be Iowa State. How strongly were you rooting against Iowa State yesterday?
I truly am not rooting against Iowa State. I am not.
I do what you do all the time. Fans come at me, and then I have to text somebody, and I'll be like, "Hey, I want you to know I still like you as a coach and as a person, but I hate your fans, so I'm rooting against you every game."
I'm adding this up here. Hold on. So last year we did combined. Wow. Okay. Last year we did combined points and rebounds for Zach Edey on average. Okay. I set the number at 30. I set the number at 32.0. You had 33.2. I had 32.9. Our guy blasted through it. His combined points and rebounds, 37.4. By the way, one thing I will continually take joy in is the fact that idiots online that love to hate Zach Edey, this dude is immediately adapting and is an awesome NBA rookie already.
He would be the rookie of the year if you were voting right now.
Just incredible stuff, man.
You spent all Monday sitting around acting like a Delta Devil, didn't you? You wanted to be a Delta Devil.
No, I did not. So we were both accurate in that we hit the over, but we didn't even come close to his combined number. We also talked about Armando Bacot. I had it at 20.5 double doubles. We both took the over. You had 22. I had 23. Did Armando Bacot have at least 21 double doubles last season, GP?
No,
he did not. We both lost. He finished with 19 a season ago.
That's my neighbor now. Armando Bacot's my neighbor now. He's down here representing the Memphis Hustle.
Okay, well, there we go. This year, we're going to do Cooper Flagg. So Cooper Flagg last night had 18 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals. That combines to 33 total, 0 blocks there. So we're going to have his combined averages for points, rebounds, assists, blocks, and steals. I'm going to set it at 32.5. Over or under combined points, rebounds, assists, blocks, steals, average for Cooper Flagg in his one and only season at Duke at 32.5.
Okay, let's just add it up. I'm going to go 17 points per game.
Okay.
I'm going to go 7 rebounds. That's 24.
Yep.
I'll go 4 assists. That's 28.
Yep.
I'll go
Gotta give me
two
a
blocks. Is 2 blocks too hard, too high?
It's not for me to decide. It's for you to declare.
Okay, I'm going to go combined blocks and steals at 3. So what did I just do? 17, 7, 4. That's 29. Plus, I got it at 32.
So you got under. Okay, GP's at the under. I am also going to take the under. I tried basically to hit the number that I think is going to be closest to here. I will also go under. You got it at 32 flat. I will go. I think it's going to be really close. I'm going to go 32-2.
All right, well, hold on. Did you put it at 32.5?
I put it at 32.5.
And I'm going 32.6.
Well, then
I want to be over.
You got to get. Well, what else? You got to change his averages. And what is he getting?
I want to be on the right side of history.
Well, you could be on the wrong side.
Today is the day I plan to be on the right side of history. All right.
As a fun aside here, Duke will play anywhere between 32 and 40 games this season. How many times does Cooper Flagg lead Duke in scoring?
Mm, 40% of the time.
No, I need an exact number of games.
40% of 32.
No. Stop. Give me a game total.
13. I'll go 13.
You'll go 13. That's a great number, GP.
They'll have like 5 different leading scorers this season.
Yeah. That's a great number by you. I will go.
The chat says I can't add. Did I misadd something?
No, well, you probably can't. Who cares? Keep it moving. I'm going to go 15 times. I'll say 15 times he leads Duke in scoring this season, which might be closer to 40%. I don't know. Okay, a year ago, this was ridiculous, by the way. We got into the question of whether Gonzaga would make a 9th straight Sweet 16, which devolved into you and I both singing November Rain by Guns N' Roses multiple times on the show.
We probably sing it better than Axl these days, if you know what I'm saying.
Probably true. We both said no. I said I have yes here. I put yes down. I have my exact notes here are yes narrowly. Now again, I did this a couple of days ago after last night. Why the hell wouldn't you? I assume you're also going to say yes.
Of course I am.
Yeah.
I've always been a believer in the Zags. They've appeared in 2 of the past 7 national title games.
The stakes are not this high. But in all seriousness, if your life truly depended on it,
I'll bet my life. I'm not scared to bet my life.
And your life hangs in the balance. You would say yes over no.
I mean, I would never bet my life on a single elimination basketball tournament.
I know,
okay,
that's the thing.
I'm not going to bet my life on a single elimination basketball.
I'm not saying it's not your choice. You've been kidnapped and taken at gunpoint, and you're being held hostage until the Sweet 16 of the 2025 Men's NCAA tournament. And
Jesus Christ, this is getting intense.
That's what I'm saying. If those were the stakes, what would you pick? I truly would pick Gonzaga to make the Sweet 16. I really would.
I mean, I think the smart thing. I think what a smart person would say. I think if I were to bring a smart person in for counsel, they would say, you should say no. That's the most likely answer. But I've always been I'm going to believe in the Zags. I watched Mark Few play goldfish with his son. I'm taking Gonzaga to make a 10th straight Sweet 16.
We also asked if UConn would make the Sweet 16 last season. We both said yes. GP's exact words were yes. I don't think they'll go back to back, but I do think they'll make the Sweet 16 as like a number 4 seed. So we were both right. Here's the question this year. I already had the answers. Will UConn make a 3rd straight Final Four? I have yes. It's documented. Parrish is a resounding no. No shot. UConn not going to the Final Four for a 3rd straight year.
I want to say there's no shot, but I did publish a Final Four projection, and I did not have UConn in it. That's on me.
Only a few more here. How about this one? This is amazing. I did yay or nay. Will there be a high major firing before January 22nd, which was the exact midpoint of last season? We both said yes. We were both technically wrong because on January, it didn't happen before January 22nd. On January 22nd, DePaul fired Tony Stubblefield.
Oh, man.
Exact midpoint of the season. Yes.
That's wild.
This year's midway point is January 19th. Will there be a high major coach fired before January 19th, Gary Parrish?
No. I'm going to say no.
I also am going to say no, in part because we don't have as many candidates that would be seemingly vulnerable to that. So
hey, on that subject, let me ask you, because somebody asked me this the other day. These contracts that coaches have now are if you want to fire somebody in January, it's going to cost you millions of dollars, right? And in some cases, tens of millions of dollars. I had a coach. We were actually talking about Mike Norvell at Florida State, the football coach, right?
Mm-hmm.
His buyout's like $80 million, and they're so bad. Reportedly, it's at least under consideration. Why wouldn't you? This is what a basketball coach said to me. Rather than pay $80 million to make the reigning national football coach of the year go away, why don't you just announce to the world, we're spending $20 million on our next football team? Just buy him the best team. Rather than spend 80 to make that guy go away, spend 20 and have the most talented roster in the country.
Sometimes the problems come from the top.
Sometimes they do, but
not saying that's the case here, but
yeah, he is the reigning national coach of the year who has done unprecedented things at two different spots. Yeah. He's not a dumb football coach. So rather than pay $80 million to an accomplished guy to go away, pay $20 million, keep him, spend a quarter of that on a roster and see what happens. You could do that in football and basketball, and I think you'd end up saving money. Rather than who's a coach on the hot seat right now, that the leading candidate,
call Bobby Hurley or Kyle Neptune.
Okay, rather than they have kind of been trying to do this at Villanova.
They have.
So maybe it's a bad
example. Well, usually sometimes one feeds the other. Is that you get the injection of NIL by having a coaching change, and people that have the money.
Yeah, that's true too.
I'll give you my money once we make a change.
Yeah, that's right too. So I don't know. I just thought it was an this coach just said, I bet you if you gave Mike Norvell, instead of paying him $80 million to go away, give him $20 million to spend on players, and you'll be a top 10 team again next season. I don't know. Just a thought.
Yep. I asked, will Dusty May be coaching FAU in November of 2024? We both said no. Mark one for us. This year I will ask, will Will Wade be coaching McNeese in November of 2025?
No.
I also have no, but I'm like a 59-41. No, I'm not super confident on that. In fact, I think if we made this, will Will Wade and Bryce Drew both be gone? I would lean more no than yes. I think there's a chance that at least one of them is still coaching at one of their schools next season. But those are two of the most prominent coaching candidates at the mid-major level. Bonus one. You mentioned Cam Jones. I threw this in this morning. Had a great night. I think he has got a chance to be the 40-point guy this season. But maybe he won't. Maybe he won't have a single one. How many 40-point games for Cam Jones this season, GP?
2.
That's
a hard number to get to.
It's a hard number to get to in college, but 40, like NBA, it means nothing, frankly. College, you hit 40, that's a big number. 50 is outrageous, but I'm going to say he gets there 3 times. I think because of how good he is and how he will be used, I think he's got a wonderful chance, and I think he gets 40 burger 3 times. Looking forward to it. Trivia time. How many you saw how the number situation.
I thought you were going to trivia time me on what time my next show starts in downtown.
We're getting out of here. We're getting out of here. Okay. Give me 5 minutes and then you're clear. I know you'd appreciate this one though. You know how these players can wear any numbers they want these days? Like I was watching Kentucky and freaking Kirk Reese was wearing 77. Looks ridiculous. Whatever. How many players are wearing 69 this season?
Oh no. I knew that's where you were going. Your mind's in the gutter.
I have
no idea. But if you had a son who was a Division I college basketball player and he wanted to wear 69, would you advise against it?
It just depends on. I guess it depends on the son. Maybe not.
I don't
how
think
many,
I would
how many
want that.
guys do you think? Think about what you got to get to ask to wear 69. So
Yeah, I would say there's 7 of them.
not a single person. Credit to
Good.
Ken Pomeroy who looked this up. Who will be the first that will be brave enough to wear?
Hunter Dickinson, clearly.
Well, if he didn't do it, we wait and see on the next one. But not a single person. I thought college basketball was an us sport. What's going on here? Not a single one?
I actually respect that. I don't want to say I'm not a fan of 69. I think that's a little too personal. Okay. I think that's a little too personal for the show. All right. What I mean is that I'm not a fan of like, ooh, 69. I don't find that, it just doesn't.
Is that what people do?
Yes, that's exactly what people do. They go, ooh, 69. And I'm not a fan of that. I don't like that so much.
The show is back. Last thing, and then I'm going to cut you loose. All right. It's not like you got another show to do. As always, I like to take a look at your preseason, your top 25 and 1, the day of the season, and the one that you make at the end of the season, the day after the title game. Okay. I won't get into the specifics here. How many teams do you think you had ranked the day after the title game that aren't ranked today?
Let's say 6.
Ooh, close. You had 7. What is your highest ranked team currently? That was not in your, if you did an overnight version, I'm not talking Tuesday. I'm talking on Monday. Your highest ranked team currently that you did not have ranked the day after the title game.
I think it would probably have to be clearly Arkansas.
You are correct. Arkansas was not ranked the day after the title game. They were 13th on the day of the season. The next two were Indiana was not ranked 18th, UCLA not ranked 19th. What was your highest ranked team the day after the title game that is now no longer ranked?
I do not know.
BYU, you had 13th. Of course, Mark Pope was coaching BYU at that point. Right. And you had St. Mary's 14th. You hit the Gales. They're no longer ranked. Only one team, I won't even have you guess this, but I'm always curious on this. Only one team is in the same spot today as it was the day after the title game. Marquette, 17th then, 17th now. Your biggest jumps, Baylor jumped 12 spots. They went from, what were they? Baylor was 19th up to number 7, again, prior to the loss to Gonzaga. Ohio State jumped from 26 up to 15. Creighton was at 1 point, 11, and they dropped down to 21. You had Houston number 1 the day after the title game. They're now 3rd. You had Kansas number 4. They're now number 1. Always intrigued to see how the transfer portal basically mandates these massive movements in your offseason top 25 and 1.
And some of those are just going to be like, I projected, I don't remember exactly, but I think I might have had Jamal Shead coming back because he wasn't an obvious first round pick type of guy. And then he doesn't come back. So I don't remember if that was it must have been the rationalization. I know at Creighton, there was a Trey Alexander thing. Yeah. I had Trey Alexander coming back initially. He obviously left school. So often it's going to be impacted by incorrect assumptions that I make the night of the title game about who's staying or leaving. And coaching changes will dictate a lot of the stuff. Arkansas, there was no reason to have Arkansas ranked the day after the season ended. But once you hire John Calipari, that this was always going to happen.
That is our annual preseason prediction spectacular. As always, please track us, keep us honest, but I like to do a little adjudication after the fact there. It is election day. If you have not gotten out to vote, you're watching live or you're getting this, please do your civic duty. Make sure you get out to the polls. GP, I voted early here in Connecticut. Have you already logged your vote, or is that happening after your show today?
No, my wife and I, we take our kids. We make a thing of it. Like I want my kids, like I go straight from goofing around.
I want my kids to vote.
No, I want them to understand that this matters. It's a big deal. Yes. And so we check them out of school, and we take them with the polls.
You have school today?
We have school today.
No school in Connecticut. No shot. Yeah. Wait, so you don't vote at the local elementary school or middle school?
I voted at church. It's a local church.
Okay, there we go. Yep.
Yeah. This is Mississippi.
I know. Yeah, up here, all the schools are a lot of.
We have more churches than schools, okay. Like lots more. Like when you see construction in Mississippi, just assume it's a church. Like, hey, what are they building there? Probably a church or a Walmart or a car wash.
Church, Walmart, car wash.
We got lots of those. Man, we got clean cars down here. Not the best ACT scores, and our teen pregnancy rate's not great, okay. but our cars are clean. We have clean cars down here. No, in all seriousness, we check our kids out of school, our little guys, and we take them. We want them to know that this matters and that that they should take it seriously. And we sort of checking them out of school. You remember what it's like to be checked out of school when you're a kid. It's like, oh, we're getting checked out of school. Like they look forward to election day because of they get out of school early, but they enjoy it. And, I'm not Mark Few as a father. I've established that, but I do want my children to understand that this is important and I want them to be a part of it. So we will do that today when we get them out of school.
Love it. Love to hear that. Yes, please, 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 everyone go vote. We did this podcast not just because Monday was the opening day of the season, but it is election day. And it feels like this is kind of dominate the news cycle and a lot of people's attention over the next 36 hours at minimum there. It is a light slate on Tuesday. Wednesday is also fairly light, although that Vermont team that won at UAB, it plays at Auburn on Wednesday night. So maybe that's a little bit intriguing there. But Wednesday doesn't have a lot of compelling matchups. Thursday doesn't have a lot of compelling matchups. Of course, we'll see if anyone gets upset. We'll talk about that. Our next scheduled show will be the Friday show. We'll react to anything that happens between now and then. And then on Friday, it's the return of the Final Four and One. Look ahead to the weekend. By far, the biggest game is UNC at Kansas Friday night. So we'll spend plenty of time talking about that in addition to predicting the game. Season's here. Games are back, GP. It feels amazing to finally, after so long of a preseason ramp-up, to finally have games to talk to.
Shouts to Devin Downey. Shouts to Chester, South Carolina. Shouts to Terry Teagle, legend. Huck Larnell. Thank you guys once again for watching, listening to the Eye on College Basketball Podcast. If you're not subscribed, please go subscribe everywhere you subscribe to podcasts, Apple, Spotify. There's more of us than there are of them. That needs to be reflected in the comments. So please do that, and we'll talk to you again on Friday morning. Till then, take care.